Hey everyone, thanks a lot for joining this workshop. Today I'll share with you the insights and learnings that we gained at Holini after auditing over 50 GA4 accounts during the past year. I tried to make this workshop tailored to B2B tech companies, and we will talk about challenges related to the GA4 and tracking for B2B tech companies. And also, I wanted to make this workshop as much practical as possible. So I have prepared for you the Looker Studio report, and I highly encourage you just to use it with me during the workshop so you can understand if your GA4 account mirrors mistakes that most B2B tech companies make. So before we go, I just want to make a small disclaimer that during this presentation, I will cover the most frequently seen issues in B2B businesses, but this presentation does not include all aspects of our internal analytics audits. It covers maybe around 5–10% and these issues which are the most important one. Before we go to the agenda part, I highly encourage you to be critical during this workshop regarding the data you can see in your own GA4 account, and please write down your questions. At the end of the workshop, you will have a chance to ask these questions, and I will go through them and answer them. So today we're gonna talk, let's say, about main 4 topics of these most common mistakes, but we will go into the details of this topic, and the devil is always in the details, and we will learn quite a lot about the irrelevant or spam traffic, that data coming to the GA4 from the sources you might not expect when you analyze your data in the user interface. Then we will talk about unwanted, incorrect referrals, self-referral issue, some problems with the URLs, which are called 301 and 302 redirects, where the UTMs and gclit and Facebook click parameters might be cut off. We also will talk about the consent banner here, how that could affect the data, and quick spoiler, it could affect significantly or dramatically the data in your GA4. Then we will go to the nature of unassigned, not set, and blank values in your GA4 account. So this is quite a big topic, and we will talk about, let's say, reasons behind it. We'll talk about the measurement protocol, what can cause these problems, and some limitations of the measurement protocol, let's say. And then we will cover quite a common mistake of collecting personal identifiable information in the GA4, and we obviously will check if you have the same problem in your GA4 account. So let's get started. Yeah, just before we go to our first topic, a couple of words regarding the Looker Studio template that I have shared with you. So you should get the access in the chat in a second. I highly encourage you just to click on it and use it during this entire workshop, because I believe this is the kind of way how you can apply this theoretical knowledge that we will talk about today on your specific practical example of your own GA4 account. A couple of notes regarding this report. So first of all, do not hesitate to choose your GA4 property here. We won't see your data. No one at Holini or anyone who attended this workshop, this data will be visible only for you. But if you are a suspicious person and the one who has two-step verification on each account, you can still click on 3 dots on top right corner and make a copy of this template, so it would be added to your own Looker Studio library. Then by default, you should have, like, let's say, the date range of the last 7 days in your Looker Studio report. On my specific example, I'm gonna use only a date range equal to 1 day because I use the publicly available dataset of Google Merchandise Shop, and since native integration of GA4 with Looker has some limitation and quotes, I would like to have it only as 1 day, because otherwise I might see the quote limits and all of the reports will stop working for me. But for you, 1 week period should be fine. It should be enough to identify if you have the most common mistakes that B2B tech companies make. Okay, let's go to the first topic: irrelevant or spam traffic. So I won't lie if I say that we can see this problem in every GA4 account that we audit, because it's not an obvious one and people do not go and check the hostname report, basically. The problem there is that you might get the data in your GA4 from the host names that you might not expect, and as the result, it can dramatically affect the metrics and cause a lot of not set values or some breaking your GA4 setup. So as you can see on the example on the left side, that there is, let's say, quite a common situation when you see your host name under this report, which should be so. And since, like, most of you coming from this B2B, like have like the SaaS model of the business, then you might have some subdomains like as app.your domain, or maybe some blogs, support.your domain, and things like that. But you also might have the situation where you have the stage environment under this report, or data coming from the local hosts. Quite a common mistake if you do the setup via the Google Tag Manager. You ask your developers to implement the Google Tag Manager on every page of the website, and what they do, they simply do what you ask for. They put it on all the pages, all the host names, and as the result, they put it on the stage environments, and then this affects your data in the GA4. Another case, quite a rare one, but we saw it a couple of times, that you might get the data from the host names that are absolutely relevant for your business. It could be, let's say, for the two reasons could be behind it, is that someone by mistake put the GA4 ID on the website, or your GTM code on the website. However, the most, let's say, the reason behind it probably that they wanted to screw up your analytics. So you just like need to double check if you have this kind of problem. How can you do it? By using the report that I have shared with you. Simply look at the step number 1. Here you would see the list of host names that collect the data in your GA4 account. In my case, we can see that there is a blank value here. I believe it's because 72 hours didn't pass before the date. Yes, true. Now I have the not set value, which is not better, but still. Go through this list and be critical of what you can see. Think about, should these host names send the data to your GA4? Do you really want to analyze this data in your Google Analytics account, or you don't need it? If you see the not set value, or like you have some other host names that should not send data to your GA4, think about, is it like affecting your data a lot? So what is the percentage from the entire sessions are affected? If you, let's say, see some irrelevant host name with 4 sessions during like 1 week, and you have thousands of sessions, then probably you don't need to worry about it. But again, also look at the conversions, how many of them are attributed to these host names. If you see the not set and it is in the top, let's say, dimensions that gets the session numbers, then there might be multiple reasons behind it. Some of them are like related to the measurement protocol. You might use the offline conversion tracking, but we will talk a bit later during this presentation. But another reason could be that you rewrite manually the page location parameter in your Google Tag Manager, and that could cause this not set value if something is not working there as expected. Let's get back to the presentation and think about the solution. So what if you want to get rid of these host names that you can see in your reports? So you would have to do either adjust your GA4 tag triggers in Google Tag Manager to send the data to GA4 from the specific host names that you would like to analyze. Or you might ask your developers to remove the GA4 tags and GTM, if you use GTM, from these irrelevant subdomains. It should solve your problem. Then we go to this unwanted incorrect referrals, redirects issues topic. I would say this was in the top chart of the most common mistakes in the universal analytics, and it remained the same in the GA4. So this unwanted referrals or referrals in general is basically the way how Google can understand what is the source medium of the traffic that is coming from third-party domains, which does not belong to your main domain. And B2B tech companies in most cases have the problem with the payment gateways. As you can see here on the screenshot, that payment gateways like Esto, Revolut, Sweetbank get credits steal credits from the original session source mediums, and you definitely would like to avoid this because I'll say from the marketing perspective, these referrals did not help anyhow to convert the users. They were just like the tools that allows you to collect the payments from the users. And obviously you would like to avoid this kind of problem. But first things first, how to identify if you have these issues. Obviously, you can go to your GA4 source medium reports and just look for these referrals. However, you can simply look at the step 2 under your Looker Studio report and make a simple filtering here. Just put referral, press enter. And this will filter out the data by session source mediums contains referrals. So here also, be critical. You are the one who knows this your business or your GA4 the most. So analyze it and look at the data. Should these referrals attribute some sessions or conversions in your case? Are they relevant or not? And just scroll down and look how many conversions are going under the referral and think if you need to exclude it. If you have this kind of referrals, then you should probably exclude it. And how you can do it, you can simply copy paste the value out of this report and follow simple steps in the GA4 itself. You can go to the admin tab, go to the data streams, choose the data stream which is relevant for you, scroll to the bottom, config tag settings, click show more. It is quite hidden from regular users, but when you reach to this list unwanted referral, click there, add this referral, and do not forget to click save. And it is done, basically. Another problem that is not quite often one within the GA4, because GA4 automatically solves, is self-referral issue. So it's basically when you have your own domain in the referral list. So how can you do it? or see if you're having this issue, just click on this domain name filter and put your own domain of your GA4, of your website, basically. In my case, it should be Google Merchandise Store, but I'll simply put Google here. And I would have this issue if I would see somewhere Google Merchandise Store under this report. If you have this kind of problem, it means that you either did not add the Google like GA4 Google Tag Manager code on all of your pages on the website, or you might screw up something with the cross-domain tracking if it is relevant for you. So the solution for you here would be to make sure that codes are implemented on all the pages, and if you have the cross-domain tracking, it is configured properly. Then another quite popular issue for everyone basically is when you report in the GA4 the same sort across multiple rows basically. And it always happens with the Facebook. You can see on the screenshot over here that basically Facebook having like 5 dimensions, and you might see even more, to be honest, which making like analysis not like really convenient if you run a lot of or rely on Facebook to bring the traffic to your website. So we won't like talk about like the reason behind it, but like Facebook just has their own, I would say, naming convention on how they differentiate device users from desktop users and other things. But if you rely on Facebook traffic acquisition and you want to have the better reporting in your GA4, you can make an adjustment in your Google Tag Manager. Basically, you would have to create a custom JavaScript variable which will look at the referrer parameter in your Facebook. This is the screenshot in the middle of the screen, where you can see if there is like a Facebook, then return it facebook.com. In all the other cases, return it as like document referrer. And after this, you would have to modify your Google tag to put this value into the page referrer. But before you publish these changes, you would have like to triple check if it is working as expected, because you might face the situation that you mess up something and the page referrer parameter and page location like are really crucial for basic GA4 reporting, and you can screw up a lot of things in your GA4. So like be super attentive to the details when you publish the changes regarding the page referrer or page location. How can you see if you have this problem? You can do it in GA4, obviously, but again, you probably guessed, or maybe some of you already checked, you can use the same kind of report and just put Facebook here. In my case, Google Merchandise Shop has no traffic coming from the Facebook, but it should be fine. Just a second, get the question. Screen full. Okay, just give me a moment. Do you find it better right now? Really rely on your response here. Okay, I will continue the presentation, and just in case, Tavi will help you with the questions there, and I will get back to make sure it is good there. Okay, so this is the, let's say, the solution of how you can solve this Facebook referral problem, but you would have to get changes in your GTM, I would say, in general. Let's move on further. 3102 and 3101 and 3102 redirects may strip off the parameters from the URL. I can say it is quite a common issue when we audit the GA4, but I would say that we face this problem almost with every client at some point, because developers might make some updates to the website and the page URLs. They might create the landing pages and not inheriting the original website settings that could strike off the gclit and UTM parameters. And this is quite a big problem, and I would say disaster if the user visits your website from, let's say, Google Ads, having the gclit, and when the user lands on the website, this parameter kind of stripes off or cut off. In this case, Google Analytics cannot properly attribute the data, and as the result, you will miss all of the attribution data in your GA4. How can you check your website right now if you having this problem? You need to open your website, put some custom UTMs, just add the gclit parameter with some test value, and perform 4 steps basically. You should try to delete the S from the HTTP and reload the page. If the UTM's parameters and the gclit remains the same, then it's all good. Then you can try to delete the HTTPS and just put www and reload the page again, and see if the UTMs and the gclit still there. Also, at the end of the link, you can put the slash and delete the slash and again reload the page. I know it's not really good to hear about this example, so let's take a look at this GIF right here. I have put the UTM's parameters in the URL. Now I deleted the S in the HTTPS, reloaded, all good, UTMs are in place. So then I deleted the HTTPS and replaced it with 3W. Again, all good, parameters remain the same. And here I removed the slash after the link and reloaded the page. And again, everything is good. UTMs stayed at the same place. But what is the bad example here is if the UTMs are gone after you're trying to change one of these things. So as you can see, I removed the S in the HTTP, reloaded the page, and I don't see any UTM, so gclit parameters. Big problem. Here, I removed the slash at the end of the page and reloaded it, and then again, it's gone. So if you have this kind of problem, you will probably notice it because in your GA4, you will see quite a big data gap between, let's say, your Google Ads clicks in the Google Ads interface and the Google CPC data in the traffic acquisition report in your GA4. Then another reason that can skew referrals and, to be honest, can affect dramatically all the data in your GA4 is the way how you added the consent banner on your website and how did you configure the consent banner on your website. So let's put some clarification here that if you don't require visitors to make a consent decision on the first page of their session, you might start seeing a lot of traffic attributed to direct none and a lot of landing pages having the not set values. Let's look at the specific example here. So we have on the left, the consent decision required banner. So basically, when the user lands on the website, they can simply make a decision, accept or decline the cookies. And also, they are not able to use the website until they make this kind of decision. So with this kind of approach, you kind of force users either accept or decline the cookies, which later on allows you to modify the tax behavior based on the user choice. However, if you have the consent banner like this, for example, or somewhere just in the corner, which is like not mandatory to accept, which allows you to ignore the banner and use the website, you might have a lot of data gaps in your GA4 account. Example here again. So imagine the situation that user clicked on your ad in Google Ads and then visited this homepage of you. By default, cookies should be denied, basically, because if the user did not let you to collect the data about them, you should probably not do that. Meaning you do not collect the data when the user visited your website. And then if the consent still ignored, user can go to other pages on the website, like pricing, go to the features or products page, and at some point, the user can make a decision, let's say, accept the cookies. And at this point, you will start to track the user on the website. However, you will miss quite important information about the user because you won't have any more the gclit parameter or UTM parameters in the URLs. They were available on the very first page, but they were cut off after the user visited any other pages. And as the result, when the user, let's say, accepted the cookies, you will see that the data about this user will go under the direct none, and the landing page also could be affected if the page view event is not the first event that fired after cookies were accepted. But we will talk about this a bit later on. So I would say in general that the consent banner and policies might require like a separate workshop to discuss about these things, but understanding of how the consent banner can affect your data in the GA4 and like your marketing tools is really, really crucial. So you should be like really serious about implementing the cookies banner and the way how you implement it. Otherwise, you might like either miss a lot of data or just screw up the data in your GA4 account. So if we take a look, let's say, on the good practices and the bad practices for the consent banner, I would point like three main statements, let's say, that for the good practices, you should force the website visitor to make a consent decision. So they should accept or decline the cookies on the very first page. That will let you much easier to configure your tagging and triggers for your tags, basically, and also that will let you to be compliant with the GDPR and respected the user choice. And this is about the next statement, actually, that activating advertising and analytics scripts tags only after visitors grant you consent. You should not fire the tags or send the data to marketing tools, analytics tools before the user accepted accepted the cookies. If they declined, you should block these tags. Then another good practice is to understand how visitors' consent decision can impact your data collection. It is quite a fundamental thing. Most of the CMP's platform right now provide you like with the statistic of, let's say, the percentage of users who accepted the cookies versus those who declined the cookies. And for the bad practice, so this is like this banner that I showed on the previous slide, that you should, if you allow website visitors to ignore the consent banner without making a decision or bypass without making a decision, then by default, you should either not collect the data, and if you do so, you will miss a lot of data. And also, if the user later on accepts this cookie, then that will screw up your data in the GA4 and marketing tools as well. So you should also use the best practices using the consent banner that activates advertising and analytics tags regardless of the visitor's consent decision. Trust me, it's so easy to go to the website and see, do you fire the tax before the consent or after the consent is declined? And by doing so, you're violating definitely the GDPR. So you should be like really careful about it, and especially when so many fines are coming in this sector regarding the collecting the data about the user without their consent. And another last bad practice is do not understand the consent, how consent decisions can affect your data collection. Again, if you go to your GA4 and analyze your data, you see a lot of direct non-traffic or a lot of not set values there. And you do not understand the reason behind it, that actually your consent banner can affect this data. This is like, you are missing like a really big picture of your analysis, basically. Okay, just let me quickly look at the comment section. It's still not solved, right? Okay, let me follow the instruction then. I did it. Let's see if that will make a difference for you. Okay, I will continue the presentation then. Yeah, and regarding this consent banner topic, keep in mind that we are not the lawyers, we are analytics developers. We work a lot with the companies who face this problem. We see what is going on in the analytics community, kind of looking at the GDPR documents, and we know what is the best approach to do it from the data accuracy perspective. However, you should always consult your legal department before making any changes on your consent banners. Okay, so now we go to quite a big topic, unassigned, not set, or blank values in the GA4. I will try to cover, let's say, the most common issues what can cause these problems in the GA4. So I would like you to be like really attentive to this part, because we will talk here a lot about the measurement protocol and some limitations of the measurement protocol, which applies for B2B tech businesses. So unassigned or not set sessions. Quick spoiler here that even if you like perfectly set up your analytics, you still will see the not set in some cases. And if you just accept it as the fact, by the way, it took us a year maybe to just accept it and stop looking for the reasons behind this not set. So if you accept it, then you need to decide like what is the rate of acceptance, or like what is the total percentage of the traffic that could be attributed to this not set before you need to start worry and investigate what might be the problem there. So from our, let's say, perspective, we can say that you are affected if you see then more than 1-2% of your entire traffic have not set or unassigned values in your traffic acquisition reports. So on the screenshot right here, you can see that the not set is the second most popular row, let's say, dimension that gets the around 45% of users under this dimension, and then 1/3 of conversions, and around 98% of revenue goes under the not set. So if you have this kind of picture, you definitely have the problem with this, and it is mostly caused by measurement protocol. So before we go to this measurement protocol, quick thing here that people not always understand that if you see, let's say, unassigned on the session default channel grouping, it doesn't always mean that you have problems with the session source mediums. Because as you can see here on the screenshot, it might be that you have the unassigned under the session default channel grouping, but actually in the reality, you have quite a valid UTMs parameters. The thing here is because when you look at the default channel group, it's like some Google-specific setup which has its own rules. And if your UTM's parameters does not match that rules, it will go under that unassigned. So in order to solve that issue, you need to either re-evaluate how you put the UTMs and meet the default channel grouping rules of Google Analytics 4, or you have to create your own custom channel groups. This option became available just before the sunset of Universal Analytics, so you can also use it. Now I encourage you to open the report, Looker Studio 1, and look at the step 3 section over here. So you should be able to see how bad it is for you, basically, this not set values and unassigned one in your own GA4 account. So you might see here again, like the default channel grouping is unassigned, but you might have this valid UTMs. And in this case, you just need to follow this solution that I provided a moment ago. Or you might have that see the situation when the session source videos just equal not set. And in this scenario, it has nothing to do with the UTMs. It might cause by the consent banner. We already know that. But most likely it is caused by the measurement protocol, especially if you have a lot of conversions attributed to the not set, a lot of revenue. If you send this kind of metric to your GA4, then you probably have the problem with measurement protocol. What is the measurement protocol? Let's say the measurement protocol is the way how you can send the data not from the browser to Google Analytics. So B2B tech companies use this kind of approach, and we help them to set up this kind of thing in order to extend the funnel. So from the marketing perspective, I believe you would agree that it is better to at least have the picture and better like to optimize your conversions towards more reliable conversions that happen in after user made the sign up. So meaning they probably reach your backend or the CRM, Pipedrive, HubSpot, and then they go through them specific lifecycle stages or just stages that you would like to send back to the GA4 for better analysis or to Google Ads for the better optimization. And the measurement protocol is the way how you can link not the browser behavior with the browser behavior, basically. As I said, usually you do it with the CRM systems and the backend. And in order to understand if you are affected by this measurement protocol, first of all, you need to figure out if you use this for sending data to your GA4, and then how do you send this data to the GA4. So in most cases, let's say B2B tech companies might have the problem of using some tools with Google GA4 native integration, like RudderStack, Segment, and some other tools. In Shopify, it might be, or WordPress websites, WooCommerce, and things like that. So Monster Insight Stack, let's say. In this case, this is quite black boxes, and you can't really affect on how to send this data. But in some cases, you might look at the requests that are being sent to the Google Analytics and modify them. So if you can get access to these requests or these payloads that are sent to the Google Analytics, you should need to make sure that these requests include all required parameters for the GA4. And these parameters are client ID and the session ID. So let's say the user made a sign up on your website. When they firstly visited, Google Analytics cookies were generated for that user. And when the sign up happens, you need to capture these parameters from the front end and store it in your CRM on the back end. And these two main parameters are client ID and the session ID. You store these parameters during the sign up. And when the user reaches through the funnel of in your CRM, you have to generate requests, which looks like this, and then GA4 can stitch the data in the GA4 user interface. So you need to validate if you properly collect the client ID from the front end and you store it when the user made the sign up or submit the forms. It might really varies based on your business, and the session ID as well. However, if you succeeded in this case as well, you might still have the problem because the GA4 has the limitations on the measurement protocol. And this limitation mainly is about session level. So I want you to put attention here, because it's not always easy to get this point from the first time, but I'll try to make it so. So GA4 can stitch back the data at the session level only within a 72-hour window. Let's look at the example. We have user 1 and user 2. User 1, they're absolutely the same. They came from the Google CPC on the 1st of December. Both of the users made the sign up at the same day. All good here. And now the difference comes. When they made the sign up, we captured the client ID and session ID and stored them in the CRM. And let's say the salesperson for the user number 1 marked that lead as MQL 2 days later, meaning 48 hours after the first visit. And user number 2 was moved to MQL CRM after 96 hours from the first visit. So in this scenario, on the session level, you will get these conversions attributed for user 1 to Google CPC, because the time between session and session start and offline event is equal to 48 hours. So meaning it is less than 72-hour window. However, for the user 2, you would see that this conversion goes under the not set because the time between session start and offline event equal to 96 hours. This is like a limitation. Within the GA4 user interface, you can do nothing about it. You just have to consider that. And again, I repeat in that these restrictions apply only on the session level. So why do I say it applies on the session level? Because I believe most of you know already or learned that in the GA4 you have actually 3 scopes of how the data could be reported. It could be user scope, session scope, and event scope. But we will talk about on user and session scope here. So on the user scope, there is no such restriction. Both of the users in the scenario that I described above will go under the Google CPC. And you can clearly see that if you look at the dimension first user source medium instead of the session source medium. But if you look at the session scope, then you will see the behavior that I just described above. However, let's say the positive outcome for B2B companies here, that you probably not interested in the sessions sources in this scenario, because you probably would like to understand what was the original source medium of the user that came to your website. Like one user can generate let's say 5-10 sessions, and all of these 5-10 sessions could have different sources, but you are interested in the very first one for that user specifically. Okay, so I mentioned above that you cannot overcome these GA4 limitations in the user interface, but I didn't say that you're not able to do it at all. There is a way, basically, how you can do with your GA4 data whenever you would like to. And it's not, let's say, the easy way, but it is a good practice if you connect your GA4 with your BigQuery, and then you will get the access to the raw data of Google Analytics 4. And when you work with the raw data, you can overcome whatever challenges, build whatever kind of reports you would like, build your own attribution models, and you just have to have the resource available for this, let's say. BigQuery for the is let's say almost cheap in all the cases, so it would be relatively cheap for you if you don't exceed quite a big free limitations there, let's say. So I would say that I highly encourage you to connect your GA4 to the BigQuery to start collecting the data, because you don't know when exactly you probably would like to have the access to that data, and the import start working only from the day when you made this import. So the sooner you do that, the more historical data will be available for you. And if at some point we will see GA5, let's say, on the horizon, we would have the access to the historical data. So you won't see this problem that many companies faced when the UA sunset was announced, that they need somehow to store this like historical data if they would like so. So yeah, BigQuery, this warehouse which allows you to collect the raw data, built on top of this raw data whatever custom report you would like to. And also, if you have the resources and desire, you could link to the BigQuery other sources from other marketing tools. For example, you can link the data from the Google Ads, from the Facebook, data from your CRM, and then you have multiple data sets in your cloud warehouse. And if you have person available or have your own partner or SQL knowledge, you can build report in the Looker Studios, in the Power BI. It is really up to you which kind of tool you would like to have there. Okay, so now we go to the next section, is like not set values related to the landing pages. So also quite a common problem, let's say, that we face in many GA4 accounts. So you can simply check it, obviously, in the GA4 itself if you go to the landing page report, but you also can open the Looker Studio report right here and look at the numbers under the step 4 table. So you probably would see that the not set in the landing page is one of the top dimensions, and there are a couple of reasons behind it. Let's discover these reasons. The reason number one, that you don't have the landing page dimension if the session starts without the page view event. So imagine the situation that the user open your website, started to browse it, and then something interrupted. They went to make a coffee. They opened websites of your competitors. So basically, they did something, and the session timeout have happened after 30 minutes if you use default settings. And then the user comes back on your website, and he might scroll, or she might scroll. And what happens in this scenario, because the session timeout have already happened, and then there is a new scroll event, it will generate a new session. But since this session does not have the page view event, it will cause not set values in your landing page. So how can you overcome this change, this problem, or reduce the number of cases when the consent, when session starts without the page view event? Quite simple. If you go to your data streams and disable these enhanced measurements, specifically the scroll event. Not sure, like if you analyze this data, in 99%, no one looks at the scrolls unless you have the block and analyze this kind of KPI there. But still, you should probably disable all of these enhanced measurements if you don't use them, or if some of them are valuable, it makes sense to set the tracking in the Google Tag Manager on the specific pages. So that will in total reduce the risks that it might break up something in your analytics, because why would you keep some settings in your GA4 that you don't use and could have potential issue on the data outcome that you have in your Google Analytics? And the scroll event itself will start the session after the timeout without the page view, and as the result, you won't have, you will see the not set in your page location report, landing page report, sorry. We already know that the consent banner can affect the data about the landing page. So quite often case if the tracking not properly configured for the cookie banner. So for example, if the accept buttons is clicked, you need to ensure that the page view event is the first event sent to the GA4 and not any other event. So measurement protocol. Yes, as I mentioned, this measurement protocol has quite a lot of limitation on the session level, and also it does not support some of the standard dimensions of Google Analytics 4, for example, as country data, device data. It will be always like equal not set for the events sent via the measurement protocol. And landing page is a session-based metric. So every session kind of can have its own landing page parameter. And if this rule of 72 hours is not met for the events that you send back to the GA4, it means that you will get the not set values under your landing page report. And solution here, the one that we have already discussed, that you can start using the BigQuery, so you can clean up your data and assign the correct landing pages to each offline conversion event. It is quite easy to do. Just imagine you have the Google Sheet. One table you have, let's say, client IDs, session IDs, and the landing pages. And on another table, you have client ID, session IDs, and offline events, MQLs, won deals, and things like that. So you can easily merge the data by client ID and session ID and have the final proper reporting there. Excuse me. Another quite popular problem is audience triggers. I would say it's not an obvious problem, let's say. In the GA4, there is a nice feature, to be honest, in some cases, but which has its own disadvantages, is that you can create events in the GA4 based on some audience segments or conditions, basically. So, for example, you might want to trigger the event when the user, I don't know, visited the pricing page, sign-up page, but did not make a sign-up event. And then you trigger this as some not activated user or something, like whenever you can call it. And if you do it, kind of generated or handled by the backend of Google Analytics 4. And as the result, it does not inherit all of the parameters of the session level or user level. And these events could be attributed to not set values or direct non-values on the traffic acquisition report, and can affect the landing page, attribute them to the not set. And last but not the least is collecting identifiable information in your Google Analytics and unnecessary parameters in your GA4. I would say regarding the first problem, that company can do it unintentionally, and this is quite a, let's say, violation that could lead to not good consequences. So your account might be suspended by Google if you send emails or phone numbers to the GA4. And let's say in most cases, it happens if users click unsubscribe, let's say on your emails, then they kind of generate this page view event within your host name where they say unsubscribe and contains the user email address. So you can see this example here on the right. How can it look like? And you can definitely take a look at this data in your GA4. But if you go to the Looker Studio report, step number 5, you don't need to click anything. It should already show you if you have this kind of problem. So if you have, you should modify your tracking or like page location parameter to exclude this data. This is one way of how you can solve it. And another way that you recently in the GA4 appeared a new feature that allows you to redact the data regarding the emails. So if you go to the admin section, data streams, you would see this email option, and you just need to click on it, so the emails would be automatically redacted from your GA4. Even if you don't have this problem right now, it is a good practice to enable this option. So just in case if something would change and you will start collect the emails, GA4 will automatically identify it and redact it from the reporting. Last but not least is collecting unnecessary query parameters under your GA4. So the problem here is that you might use these query parameters for some product like page differentiation, let's say, which is helpful, and this is how you can analyze your pages. But in some cases, these query parameters are just like splitting the same page into multiple rows. And this is what you can see here on the example, that home page basically is the top one, but also we can see again the home page on the 14th row in our report, and it has the parameters automatically attached by the HubSpot. So it is good for the HubSpot to have these kind of parameters available for the reporting in the HubSpot, but for GA4, these parameters means like nothing, no sense, and you should not send this data into your GA4. And how you can identify if you have this problem, that you can go to the step 6 into the report and look at these final page URLs over here. You could put the question mark, so it will filter out all the pages with the, sorry, not equals, of course, but contains. And it will show you the list of the pages that contains the query parameters in your GA4. So you need to be critical here again and go through these query parameters and see if these parameters are required for you. You analyze them, you would like to have this data in the GA4, or it does not make any sense and you would like to get rid of it. If you would like to get rid of it, then you should modify your tracking in Google Tag Manager. So you can use a variable from the template, which you can download in your Google Tag Manager, and then list, like you can see here on the example, one by one, which parameters should be excluded. And after it is done, you need to rewrite the page location parameter in your GTM with this new variable that you just created. And again, here, when you work with page location, page referrer parameters, you need to be like really critical and double check things before you publish them, because if something is not working as expected, you will mess up a lot your GA4. So, with just on time, we can go to the end of this workshop. So, what can you do today in order to make sure that your GA4 gets the right data and you understand the context of your data? So, you could import our self-audit template into your Looker Studio report library, and connect your GA4 account with this self-audit dashboard. And I hope that you guys just did it during this workshop and found out some issues regarding your GA4. And I highly encourage you to review this step individually and be critical to what you see and understand if solving this problem is really required for your analysis, understand how big the problem is, what is the percentage of data is affected. So put the right priorities, let's say. Then you should resolve your issues if you decided that they need to be resolved. And if you can't do it, you could seek assistance from a specialist. Also, stay informed about the latest GA4 updates and features. A lot of things are changing, and this year probably a lot of things will change in this privacy sphere, third-party cookies. Now you heard about this version 2 of the consent banner that should be implemented, and if you don't have it, it will affect a lot the tracking of your Google Ads data. So yeah, keep informed about the GA4 updates, a quite crucial thing to keep in mind. And if you are not satisfied, or it takes quite a lot of time for you to understand what kind of data is collected in the GA4, and you just need like one single source of truth, you might think about connecting your GA4 to the BigQuery for overcoming GA4 limitation and making your own reports based on your KPIs and context of your business. So thanks a lot for your attention. Now we can go to the questions part. I will stop the presentation at that point. All right. Does the custom variable in GTM for merging different names of one source, Facebook example, work backward or only from the moment of implementation? It works only from the moment of implementation. It does not affect the historical data. Would you be willing to host a webinar about the offline conversion measurement? I would like to investigate the idea of integrating GA4 and HubSpot better. We might think about it. Right now, if you would like to know more about it, you can go to the Holini website, and we have specific page dedicated to the offline conversion. So you can learn more about it there and reach out to us if you need any assistance, or you can just drop me a message on my email or LinkedIn. I will get back to you. Okay, any other questions? Do you have them? Don't see that anyone is typing. So I really hope that you were able to find out some issues with your GA4 and you are leaving this webinar with some idea of how to solve these issues. And whenever you would need help regarding the tracking part, just feel free to reach out to us. We will share all the details early next week. So no worries, you will get everything you paid for by sharing with us your email. Let's keep in touch and have a great start of 2024. Enjoy.